All right, welcome to Merkle Meets. Welcome. No matter if it's a good day, good morning, good evening, wherever you're in the world. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. So we meet again. Today we're going to talk with Codex. Wait for AJ. He'll be right on in a second. He's already checked in this morning. He just had a real quick run, real quick to go. I guess out. He'll be back. So anyway, um, this is going to be a kind of a different Merkle Meets for us because we're going to talk about some crypto issues, especially the scams and other related items in crypto, scams, how they work. And then we're going to talk just briefly about tracing and some of the thoughts around tracing. What I would ask from the audience, though, is if you are curious and have a question, throw it in the chat because in my portion, it's really kind of there's room for chat and there's room for question and answer because I can't make you an expert overnight or just 1 hour of tracing. Um, but what I can do is I can give you some thoughts about where you might want to go and start learning some more stuff. If you're a professional investigator in crypto, this is not going to do anything for you. We welcome you and we hope you stick around, but we're not going to be showing anything you don't already know. So, but if you're a novice and you're just getting started, stick around. This is going to be great. We have AJ over here from Codex. For those of you who don't know Codex, Codex has become a widely popular tool used by law enforcement and other entities these days to serve legal process to a lot of different, or to assist in the legal serving of process to a lot of different exchanges and financial institutions. But for that, I'm going to let AJ take care of his own introduction, and he can talk about what they do at Codex real quick, and then I'll get started with the investigation side, and then Kodex come back in and take care of their side as well. So welcome, AJ. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me. Really appreciate the opportunity. I'm going to take you guys through the portal, everything you're going to need to know in order to serve legal process on, I think we have four out of the world's top five crypto exchanges now using us as the only way to submit subpoenas to them. So it's super important. What I'm going to talk about is going to fit in perfectly with what Robert's going to talk about. Once you're done that investigation, that initial piece, you're going to have to start getting data from all these exchanges, and that's where we're going to come in and help out. I'm excited to show you guys what we have, and please stay tuned after Robert's finished, and we'll start up on the Codex portion.
Yeah, thank you, AJ. Appreciate it. So a little bit about Merkle before we get started. Merkle Science is a predictive analytics company. We do blockchain analytics. We have tracing and visualization tools. We have know your blockchain tools. We have compliance tools as well called Compass that will do transaction monitoring based on the rules, your rules if you want to include your rules, and has a very robust engine behind it. That's what we do, and we do a lot of investigations for people around the world. So, if you have something that you just need absolute help with, please let us know. Contact us. We'll give you a hand. Or if you just want to chat, you can shoot me an email, and I'm always glad to chat. So, um, now, if you're law enforcement, this is going to be really good for you. If you're not law enforcement, it's good for you as well because you can understand how the process is going to work. And if you're in a compliance unit somewhere around the world doing crypto, you can understand what's going on the other side. It's kind of like there's two sides to what's going on. There's the compliance angle, and then there's the law enforcement angle, and you can get a better understanding of how things work on the other side as well. So what I'm going to do this morning is I'm going to slip over to a slideshow that I have ready for this. Let me get the words out right. And then we're going to go through a slideshow that's going to go over some of the most common scams we have going on today. Now, I'm not going to go into the hacks, like what happened to Bybit, one of the biggest hacks in history. Those are cyber crimes and they're enabled by cyber through attack vectors. I'm not going to cover that. I'm going to cover what is really tearing up um, uh, the population in the United States and other places, Canada for one, and it is hitting our people very hard. We had about $16.6 billion lost last year in 2024, according to IC3, the FBI, in romance scams and other investment scams related to cryptocurrency. Now, that is only who reported crimes. Now, think about this. If you are a person, let's say you're a professional I've had lawyers before. Let's do it that way. You're a lawyer. You're a hardworking person. You've saved up a lot of money, and suddenly you get drawn into a scam, unknowingly, of course, and you lose $1 million. $1 million is chump change when it comes to pig butchering, believe it or not. Um, are you going to report that? Well, I would say that probably 75% don't report that they've been scammed. Now, that's for various reasons. One, they may not want their significant others to know that they lost a bunch of money, or they're just embarrassed over it. And they're just like, call it a lesson and move on. So I think that $16.6 billion is really not accurate. I think it's probably much higher. That's my opinion. I'm sure there's some stats around that whole topic somewhere out there, but think about that. It's probably much, much higher. And $16.6 billion, think about this as well. Um, if if somebody, a group in the United States, went around and robbed 16 banks for $1 billion each, you can bet that every law enforcement agency in the world would be hunting them down as fast as possible. But yet we're losing $16 billion to pig butchering. And a lot of times, please pardon me, my law enforcement friends, this is not a dig on you, but this I'm just telling you what's happening in the world. A lot of times the victim reports this to law enforcement, and what's the response they get? We can't help you, it's crypto. That is the wrong response. Now, I'm not saying we can recover their funds, but what I am saying is, at the very least, law enforcement needs to take the report. They need to collect the statistics and operational data around it, so all the evidence they can gather, and at least report it to IC3, the FBI, so that they can build bigger cases. That's what they're doing over there. They're not working on every single case that comes in. They're building bigger cases, and every little case that gets entered is a link in this chain to get to the bigger cases and hopefully solve big networks that are doing this. And that's what it is. It's big networks. So enough about my soapbox here. Let's jump into the presentation and we'll get into that. So let me go share real quick. Let me find what I'm looking for. Just close that. I need to pop that open. There we go. All right, now everyone should be able to see my screen. So Chandan, can you see that? I want to make sure everyone can see what I'm talking about here.
Yes.
Okay, great. So we're going to talk about crypto scams today. And what we have here is we have several. So we have romance scams that's called pig butchering. And this is fake relationships to track victims or trick victims into sending cryptocurrency. This happens all day, every day. Okay. Investment scams. You may have heard of these. This is where someone is enticed into investing crypto into a platform. There's usually a fake site on the internet somewhere where they can go and supposedly see their earnings making massive returns. But it's all fake. So, and then ransomware, we're going to do that another day because that is a cyber enabled crime. And this is important here. Some people may disagree, but this is important. A financial crime or a crypto crime that's a scam like pig butchering or something, it's a financial crime. You're just taking out the US dollar or whatever currency and you're putting it in crypto instead. Now, the difference is the way crypto works. Now, a cyber crime like ransomware, that is different because they've actually used the attack vector to get into your data and encrypt it. So that is a cyber crime right there. So financial and cyber, they're kind of blending these days, but keep those apart from each other. All right. Now you still need pretty much the same resources, or everyone can help everyone out here, but just keep that thought in mind. And then we have the ATM enabled crimes. So and ATM and romance scams and investment scams all kind of go together. And how that happens is ATMs really, and I'm not disrespecting the ATM owners here, but I'm just telling you like it is. ATMs at this time, right now, seem to be the portal that a lot of these groups are using to get people to make that first crypto transaction. Now, it happens other ways, but the ATM seems to be the most common right now. So, all right, so pig butchering, and what does that mean, and why is the term pig butchering? I mean, there has been a lot of talk recently about this term pig butchering. People say, it's derogatory, it's mean, it's all kinds of things. But you know what? It is what it is. Pig butchering is what the groups who are scamming you use, and they use it that way because what they're doing is they're taking the individual person, they're building this relationship, and they're fattening them up. Right, they're taking them down, they're making them want to put more money in and put more money in, and it's all psychological. And then what happens is they lead them to the slaughter, and that's when they take all their money. So that's why it's called pig butchering. I know it's not a great term, but it is what it is, and it's an online scam that manipulates victims into investing in fraudulent schemes. All right, pretty simple, right?
Robert, sorry to interrupt. I think you are sharing the doc or training Merkle doc. Can you just share the presentation?
Sure. Let me find my Zoom screen again. Make this bigger. Yeah, I did. I moved it. I'm sorry. My apologies, everybody. Is that better?
No, yeah, now it's good.
Now you can see the slide
Yeah,
now.
I can see the slides now. Awesome.
Okay. Now, if I move it, it works.
Yes, it works.
Okay, perfect. So my apologies. Thank you for letting me know that. I don't need to be sharing the doc here. Um, okay, so this is how it starts. So we already talked about this. Romance scams did about 16.6 billion in the U.S. in 2024. That's not counting what happened in Canada, Mexico, the EU, Asia, Australia, any of those other places. And anyone can be affected now. On this call today, how many people, think about this, have gotten one of these texts in their phone? It's just comes out of the blue. Hi, how are you? Was that you at the club last night? I've gotten them like, hey, I saw you out golfing yesterday. And the fact of the matter is you weren't any of those things. But what they're doing is they're opening that channel of communication, and that seems to be the best way to do it. And if you go on Reddit and you look up pig butchering, you'll find a chat in there that they actually shared one of the pig butchering um, user manuals, if you will, where they actually show, kind of the whole breakdown. It's in Chinese, so I can't read it, but they show the whole breakdown of how to run one of these scams, like from intro to building relationships to introducing the crypto scam, and it's all psychological, and they're using your own psychology against yourself. So anytime you get these messages, start thinking to yourself, this is probably not true, and this is probably going to be a scam somewhere down the line. And there's yeah, it's tough because once you start texting back, then you can you're opening that door for communication. Now I do text back sometimes when I get them, but I text back like things like let's not waste time. Just tell me how much crypto you want, and I'll transfer it, and we'll be done with this. And then I never hear from them again. But you know, like to play with them a little bit. But I totally understand what's going on, and I won't be a victim there. So I'd laugh for this one anyway. Maybe something else, but not this one. So I talked about pig butchering. They build trust over time, usually with a romantic or professional context. So the romance side is like pure pig butchering. The professional context seems to be more on the investment side. And then they pressure to invest in fake cryptocurrency schemes using phony websites and social media profiles. I've seen all these things before, and the websites are really good. They're sophisticated, and they use social engineering to make you feel really comfortable. I've talked to victims that even though they were losing thousands, tens of thousands of dollars, even more than that, millions sometimes, they just can't believe that this person on the other end is not who they say they are and that they're being scammed. It is unreal. So keep that in mind as well when you're talking to um, victims somewhere. If you work in law enforcement or if you're in compliance or some other financial institution, um, if you're talking to a victim, understand there could be a very strong emotional attachment, and for some people, it could be like telling me that my wife has done something, and I'll be like, no, that's not true. So just understand the emotional context and the social engineering that has gone on to get them to that point. They've already been in contact for a long time. So. Typical case we just talked about, building a relationship with the victim. The victim develops an affection. Talked about that just now. And they take over Facebook accounts a lot, Instagram, LinkedIn. Takeovers are widely used. I don't know if you ever noticed this, but for those of you who like to surf Facebook at night, I know those people do. But think about it. there's always in just about every chat, every like someone posts something and then there's a little chat, and there's always that one person that throws out something that's kind of crazy, like, and everyone's jumping on that person, you're like just digging at them. But if you go look at that account, it's got like one photo posted from 2002. That is either account takeover or just a straight fake profile. And that's how these things start. They're building those profiles. They're taking them over, and then they're using them as, you know, to portray themselves somewhere else and start these. Now, many of these cases originate in Nigeria or via Chinese organized crime groups in Asia. This is a big deal because there are compounds in Asia that have thousands of people working there who have been human trafficked into those positions via a range of ways, but a lot of times through fake job offerings. And now they're stuck in a room getting beat and having to scam people using the playbook, making these texts, you know, having the text go out all day, answering text, and they have quotas to meet. And if they're not meeting the quotas, they're getting physically abused or worse. So you know, this is not only just a problem in the U.S. It's a problem in Asia as well, and it's a human trafficking problem as well. So you see how these are kind of blending together now. And I just talked about this. We'll call it what it is, transnational crime, and that's exactly what it is. It's preying on the most vulnerable, and they need to be aggressively investigated. Whether you can make a recovery on or a seizure or not, at least do the first part of it, which is collect all the data and make sure that report goes to IC3. Now, IC3, you know, the FBI only has so many resources. They're not going to investigate every scam that comes in, but you're adding information to the database. You're adding information to the big picture, if you will. All right. And this is a massive transfer of wealth to China, right, through the Chinese criminal organization. So keep that in mind. This is not just someone lost some money. This is a very global issue, and it has multiple illicit pathways that cause a lot of damage to a lot of people. All right, so let's talk about how this happens in the real world. All right, now I told you, you know, basically how it happens in theory, and now we'll talk about something that happened. Now, what I did here for this next part is I blended together a couple cases so that no one victim could go, "Hey, that was me." I don't want that happening. I blended some cases together so we can talk about it without implicating anybody who was victimized. So here we go. So starts out as a typical investment scam. Victim met a young woman who was looking for online companionship. This is true. This was a very multi-million dollar event that occurred. I'll leave the country out of it, but we're talking more than 5, less than 20. How's that? Million. So that's a lot of money, right? And after setting the hook, she began to encourage the victim to invest in a can't fail crypto trading program. Um, you know, so can't fail. Like, you know, put 100,000 in, or actually start very small first. So, hey, why don't you put 5,000 in, and you know, the market's really hot. We could probably see 50 or 100%, you know, investment turnover in the next couple of days. So, the victim at first was wiring money, straight fiat cash from the bank to a bank in Hong Kong. Now, on the site, it would show the victim's money in there. The victim's money did not go in there. It went to the scammers, of course. But on the site, it showed the funds deposited. And then a couple of days later, it showed that he made a massive return. So he put in 10 grand and he made $5,000. And now he's like, wow, I just made $5,000, didn't have to do anything, just like that. So now he's seeing the massive results and with inside this fake exchange or fake investment site. And you get your own login and everything, and you get your own customer service person, the whole bit on the site. And then so now he puts in more money, all right, and then he puts in more money, and now they told him say we don't want the fiat anymore because there's a trail behind it. They didn't tell him that part, but that's why they don't want fiat anymore. They're like, send us crypto. And they told him how to go to the exchange in this country, um, open an account, put some money in there, and then start using Ethereum. In this case, they wanted Ethereum. Now, Ethereum is becoming more and more popular in scams, but Bitcoin still far outnumbers Ethereum in scams. But Ethereum it has a lot of abilities in the realm of ERC tokens. So not cross-chain swapping, but token swapping. So if I have an Ethereum account, I can then trade that for USDT on Ethereum or USDC or some other stablecoin, and then I can move that like physical cash around, but very fast because it's on the crypto world. Now, what happens, and you can see they try to take their earnings out and they're blocked, and the victim's given some stern warnings. And we'll talk about those two things here in just a little bit. So this is actually some of the evidence here. And you can see the gentleman did ask for some kind of proof of who she was. And she produced this U.S. Resident card, which is fake. There's it's hard to see on the webinar, I'm sure, but the name that she gave, or the name Maria Evelyn, is not the name that's on the card. The name on the card is totally different. And then, of course, one thing to really recognize here is you'll see the fake social media accounts and the fake handles and stuff. What I've noticed is there's never two things. One, there is never an actual direct on facial shot on the social media. It's usually a nice looking young lady with her face turned some other direction. Now, I don't know if they do that to stop facial recognition software or not, but they generally never have that like front facing view so you get a really good picture. I will say that the picture on the passport is probably not her. We don't know. But you know, you'll see this a lot, and this is how they'll communicate. Fake social media, they appear legitimate, and they're just pushing this narrative, you know, especially if you have a man or woman who's feeling lonely or has lost someone recently or something, they're feeling a little emotional. These, you know, these pathways can really start the access to the victim and start creating trust with them. So keep that in mind. All right, so after a while, you know, the hook gets set, can't fail. Victims believe they're making legitimate investments, and they see those fake profits being displayed on a platform. All the time, the scammer is using this social media to build the emotional connection. They're using that psychology now, and they're encouraging more funds to be deposited, which are quickly being, you know, laundered in the background, but the victim doesn't know that yet. Fake investment platforms, social engineering, and unrealistic returns. Those are all things that were in this case I'm talking about now. Gentleman was using cash on the fake investment site, and then he was Ethereum, and the amounts of money became enormous that he was sending over there because he thought he was making all this money in return, right? So he thought he was seeing, I mean, when I talked to him, he had like returns in the millions because he had invested millions. So he was seeing more, you know. So he invested, just say 5 million. He had 15 million setting in his account, and he wanted his money. He's like, I want my money. But what happened when he tried to get his money back is he was blocked. And this is how this all goes. So once the victim sees a lot of money in their account, they think to themselves, you know what, I want to get some of that money out. I want to take some of my earnings back. There are cases in which a small amount of your money will get sent back to you to build trust. So they have found that if they send, say, you know, 70 grand back to you or 80 grand back to you, that's building trust that it's not a fake site, because who scams money from you and gives it back, right? But the key here is they then manipulate you to not only reinvest the money you took out, but then to double it as well. So you're actually going to end up putting more in if everything works out to their advantage. So the other way they do this, after all that's gone through, is then they start using, it's all fake, but they'll say, oh, you violated some anti-money laundering laws. We have to discuss this with the regulator, and we'll get back to you. So delay. And then you're back, I want my money. And they're like, well, you know, Europol has found out that we're doing this trading, and you owe them a tax. And they send you a form with a crypto address and a tax amount assigned to it. And you know, the guy he actually paid the tax. where did it go? Right back to them. It's all fake. And then the IMF, International Monetary Fund. Oh, you violated the law again. And they show you these fake letters. And you can't have your money because you did this, and you have to pay a fine now. And it's all centered around one thing: paying them more money. And this is what happens. And it gets drawn out and drawn out. And now, weeks have gone by, sometimes months have gone by. Your money is long gone. And then shortly after that, they'll stop communication with you. Boom, communication's over. They don't want to talk no more. It's done. Chandan, real quick, you can see my slides changing, correct?
Yes, Robert. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So what happens after all that? After the victim, is aware that they're being scammed, it's embarrassing. They've lost a lot of money. Unfortunately, some commit suicide. Having that happen before. I've had people who've sent all their 401s, mortgaged their house, the whole bit, and they're devastated, and they just can't believe this happened to them. So then they call law enforcement generally if they're going to report it. And what happens is, there are some who will take the report and try to move the case forward, and commend those officers and agents doing that. But sometimes they get told, "Hey, there's nothing we can do about it," and it's crypto, and they walk away, which is unfortunate. We are going to change that. But anyway, just say you get this case in your hand. Now, what are you going to do? Well, I'll tell you, the first thing that you need to do is make note of the dates and times of the transactions. I'm not talking about the transactions from the crypto ATM. I'm talking about the transaction. We'll just take the date and time on the transaction. We'll stop with that. We'll worry about the rest later. Pay attention to the amounts. Okay. Know your blockchain. So USDT Tether can be used on different blockchains. You can, it depends on if it's a ERC20 on Ethereum, or it could be USDT on another chain, say Tron, for instance. And then, understand that there's going to be a lot of swapping going on, or could be a lot of swapping going on. And careful not to trace through service addresses. So service addresses are addresses that have a lot of transactions in and out and may be backed by a centralized accounting system. So crypto's coming in, and they're actually holding, maybe in a hot wallet, and then they're sending funds out on the backside to different people, not necessarily the same ones who deposited, or they're moving from hot wallet to a custodial wallet, and then doing other business on the backside. But the key point is it's a centralized accounting on their side, so you don't know whose crypto came in and went out. It's like putting a dollar bill at the bank, and then going to another bank of the same branch, or the same name down the street, and saying, "I want a dollar bill," and they give you a dollar bill. Well, you got a dollar, but you didn't get your dollar back, right? And then use tracing software with multi-chain ability. Tracker, which is by Merkle Science, has the multi-chain ability. I think we cover 23 chains, plus a ton of bridges. So definitely you're going to need tracing software. You could do this by hand using open source block explorers, but the fact of the matter is it's going to take you forever. And there's a lot of room for making mistakes there too. So here we go. ATMs generally facilitate these scams. Now, I don't want to make the ATM people upset, but right now that's kind of the way it goes. So romance scams, investment scams, and other scams are, ATMs facilitate a lot of the transfers. Now, I'm going to be the first to tell you, do not seize the ATM. If you're a law enforcement officer, do not seize the ATM. Let's say that one more time. Do not seize the ATM. The funds that are in there are no longer your victim's funds. When the victim stuffs cash into an ATM and they send Bitcoin somewhere else, they have entered into basically a contract with the ATM that the ATM will take money from them and send value on their behalf somewhere else. That money inside there now belongs to the ATM owner. Now, So please don't seize the ATM. Don't get a grinder and cut it open or anything like that. Those are not your victims' funds anymore. And time and time again, I see this happening, and it never ends well for the agency that does it. So please keep that in mind. And at the front of the ATM, you will see generally a disclaimer saying, if you've been scammed or someone's pressuring you or something like that. So they are putting the warnings on these ATMs about scams, but a lot of times they're just disregarded. Okay. Financial loss and emotional distress makes people do crazy things. Common types of scams that our ATMs facilitate other than PIN butchering: IRS scam, the CRA scam. People pretend to be a tax authority and they're going to come arrest you. Jail bond scam. People will, claim one of your, daughter, son, mom, dad, whatever has been put in jail and the bond is X and you can pay it in Bitcoin. It happens. May sound a little strange. The rental scam. People go look at an apartment. Um, the realtor or property manager says, we'll be glad to rent to you. You can pay the deposit in Bitcoin. It's fake. I don't know of anyone who takes Bitcoin on rent these days or property managers. It could happen and it may happen. But if someone's asking for payment in Bitcoin or some other crypto, I would be very cautious. And there's so many more scams out there because you just take out the fiat currency, which is national currency, dollar, Canadian dollar, pound, euro, whatever. And it's just the same old crime, just crypto put into the middle as value. We talk about this. Victims get the alarming text, claiming to be their funds, have been deducted by Bank of America. You've all seen those, right? Like you get a bill from some company that says, "Here's the bill, and we're going to deduct this money from your account in 15 minutes if you don't call us." My mother-in-law, she's an older lady. She gets a lot of these and she always brings them to me and says, "This is real." And I go, "No, this is fake." So learn to know what's fake or not. Talk to the elder people around you about what's fake and what's not and how to decide. Because a lot of people fall for this. And the next thing you know, they've given them all their login credentials and they've drained their accounts. We talked about the manipulation. We've been talking about that all day. So this is actually a receipts from Bitcoin Depot. These are ATM receipts. This is an IRS scam right here. And the lady actually paid this scammer $2,500 in USD, but they didn't actually. The scammer didn't get the $2,500 USD because here's what happened. Look at these receipts if you can see them. So what we have here is we have the exchange rate. Now the victim was contacted by a telephone message and they said, "We're going to come arrest you. We're from the IRS. If you don't pay X in Bitcoin to this address." So she went to the Bitcoin ATM and she put $2,500 total. There's two receipts there, 1,000 and 1,500. And then if you look at the price of the exchange was 30,278 on one and 30,182 on the other. And the average price of Bitcoin on that day, I went back and looked, was 25,774. So there's almost a $5,000 markup on the exchange rate at an ATM. So what happens is the victim is not giving all that money to the scammers, which is horrible to begin with, but they are also losing money in the exchange rate, a massive amount of money. So just say somebody stuffs 10 grand in there and they're going to lose a couple thousand to the exchange rate. And this is where some agencies have had success on getting the ATM company to refund the exchange rate funds. Now, I'm not saying they're going to, okay? So get that out of your mind. I'm not saying it's going to happen. Some will, some won't, some have and now don't. It just depends. But it never hurts if you're an agency to ask them, "Hey, this was the exchange rate. Can we get that back for the victim? Check it out, because this hurts, right? You're talking $500 out of 2,500. That's 20%. That's quite a bit of money, right? So they're impacted not just by the scam, but also the ATM fees. And take a look at these receipts. There's important information here. So you have their exchange rate, which you're going to need to do accounting with. You have the amount of cash they stuffed in, and then you have the BTC amount sent. See where it says BTC amount sent? That is the amount that you're going to see on the blockchain. You're not going to see a transaction for $1,000 or $1,500 equal equivalent in Bitcoin, because the fee has come out, and now you're only going to see the amount of Bitcoin that's equal to what they had left after the fees. So make note of the BTC sent. That is what you're looking for on the blockchain. If you go into the blockchain and you convert everything to dollars, because a lot of our tools will do that for you, you won't find two transactions for 1,000 and 1,500. What you're going to find is it's substantially less, so it's easier to look by BTC sent. Now, also look at the status. Two things. Let's look at the time, 1:18 p.m., and look at the status. It says status, pending coin sent. This is important because if you start searching the blockchain at 1:18 and 1:35 Mountain Standard Time, corrected UTC to Mountain, you're not going to find these transactions, because Bitcoin has a confirmation block time of 10 minutes. All right, that's important stuff. It has a block time of 10 minutes. So within about 10 minutes of the transaction receipt time, you should find that these transactions in there adjusted for fees, right? That's why I keep saying look for the BTC sent. And in this case, you have the addresses that the funds were sent to on both sides. Okay, so it's one address. You can see that what happened here. So keep those things in mind. Very, very important. I get a ton of people saying, "Oh, I can't find the transaction." And we know it happened because they have a receipt in front of their hand. But what's happening is they're outside their window of occurrence. They're looking for the wrong amount, okay, because it's coming off their receipt. So pay attention to what's going on there and make the adjustments. We talked about this. Yeah, we beat that horse to death. Non-matching transactions. As you're tracing, what you're going to see, and I'm going to show you just a little bit here in a little bit, a few minutes, non-matching transactions or commingled funds. That's what that means to me. So when you're tracing, you'll have your victims' funds, and you'll see they'll start commingling, because what they're doing is they're adding other scammed value to these addresses as they're going through. And your victims' funds now may be just a small piece of a much larger value inside of, or what's called a UTXO, or a wallet full of UTXOs. So you need to find a way to account for that. All right. So pick an accounting method, even if it's just a spreadsheet, plus and minus. Pick something and account for the value, the proceeds going in and the proceeds coming out. Okay, so I'll let you think about that. And there's a much better method out there. If you want to contact me, we can talk about it. But there's better methods out there. But you're going to have to learn to account for these for the value as you move forward. Certainly, if you're in law enforcement and you're going to one day want to prosecute a case, you're going to need to account for all the way down to the Satoshis, if that's what it takes, right? Satoshi is a 1/100th of a millionth of a Bitcoin. That's a small piece. I would say here, obfuscation tactics vary when they do this, from very simple, just one or two hops, to very complex. When you start tracing, you will see you'll see very quickly, you kind of get an idea of who the scammers are, because you see the complexity of the transfers or the obfuscation, or if it's just one or two hops and right to an exchange, it's probably not a very complex group or sophisticated group. Bitcoin has moved several times into consolidation wallets, funnel counts. Maybe you've heard of that term or not. But if you've been in financial investigations, you understand what a funnel count is. You will see that somewhere down the line, these scams start to consolidate into one or two wallets, and then from there they start getting liquidated through exchanges. Now you can look backwards from there and you can start seeing where the victims are as well. So Bitcoin is most often preferred because ATMs, there's Bitcoin ATMs everywhere. Some are multi-currency capable. A lot of them are. And then you might see Ethereum as well. Like I said before, increasingly we do see Ethereum because of the ERC20 token function, and you can do token swaps from ETH into just about any type of token you want to deal with. And that's not the same as a chain swap. So chain swaps and token swaps are different. We just talked about the ATM receipt. Think about those ATM receipts and what I talked about. Learn how to decipher them. I know it seems like an easy thing, but learn what's going on with the receipts. Also, learn your different operators. There's a bunch of operators of them out there. CoinSmart is probably the toughest one because their transaction ID doesn't match the blockchain ID. It's internal. So you're going to have to talk to CoinSmart. You got to actually call them and talk to them and see if you can't get information. And some of that may take a subpoena. They may be like, yeah, it's great, but send us a subpoena. So talked about the fees. And scammers often direct victims to which crypto ATMs to use. They will say, go down to this street, 2 blocks from your house, there's an ATM in there and use that ATM. The transaction's fast and it's not reversible. You cannot call the crypto ATM company and say, please reverse that transaction. It doesn't work that way. They're not gonna, once they send the transaction, it's done. It's gone. So understanding the risk, we talked about the risk, identifying reputable ATM companies. There's a whole bunch of them now. They're all pretty reputable. They have really good compliance departments. They have really good legal counsel. I understand that the fees are inflated, and you can think what you want of that, but they are companies and they are following the rules. So treat them as such and use them for the information you can gather from them. Competent technical training, you need that. So if you're sitting here listening to me talk, which forgive me, but if you're sitting here listening to me talk and you're understanding this, but you want more training, please contact me. Happy to give training. Investigation experience and case reporting are essential. Law enforcement is the only people out there that can issue subpoenas. Courts can too, but I would just put them in one bucket of the law enforcement. And that subpoena authority is king. So if someone is telling you that they can recover funds and they're not a law enforcement agency or have some type of authority like that, then that's not true. Okay, it's not true. Use a recognized blockchain analytics service, Merkle Science. We're certainly out there doing some great work, by the way. And you need visual tracing, chain swaps. Oh, I misspelled swaps. Sorry. Cross-chain bridges. Damn, I misspelled that one too. Must have been an early morning this morning. And accurate attributions are the key items you need. Best evidence has become an issue. Okay. Now, so what that means is if a blockchain analytics company is telling you that exchange you're looking for is Binance, no disrespect to Binance, just use an example, is Binance. And you go do a report and say the money went to Binance, and we need to serve them with seizure warrant and all this stuff. And then you send it to them, and they're like, "That's not our address," because maybe there was an error on the attribution, or the trace was wrong, or whatever the case may be. It doesn't get you anywhere. So the first step is before you start doing all the seizing stuff, contact that exchange. Make sure you get the best evidence, which is them saying this address is ours. Your trace is correct and this address is ours. So reconstruct that information that you get from the analytics company, reconstruct it through an actual process, get the best evidence, them saying that's ours, and then start the seizure process if it's available to you. And this will avoid challenges, right? So, and we've seen this in other criminal cases that don't really involve exchanges, to where a company says this is X, this X, he's involved or she's involved, and this is why, because the tracing said so, and the blockchain corroborates it without the attribution. But then there's nothing to really back that up. So whenever you can, get other information and evidence to back that up, right? Because as good as we are, blockchain analytics, things happen, right? I mean, you can only be as good as you can be. So as good as everyone is out there, and that goes for all of us, you make sure that you get the best evidence. Try to confirm it every time. Okay, so here's a little URL there. It's the BitDog X swindle. Wow, that's a tough one. But it's a great story. I can share that with you later if you want to see that. Read that story. It's pretty good. Learn from past scams. Will help you avoid similar pitfalls. Go out there, talk to the public, preach the narrative. We have to stop these scams. Be a resource, okay? Whether in law enforcement, compliance, you're just a regular person, doesn't matter. Preach what I'm telling you today, and make people aware of what's going on out there. All right, so that's the end of this presentation. I'm going to switch over my screen to the tracing tool, and from there we're going to talk real quick. It's not going to take too much longer. I only got about 15 minutes before AJ comes on, but we're going to talk about a real quick. It's not really a case, but it's more like a quick demonstration or example on Tracker, our tracing tool. So let me just switch over real quick. I'm going to stop sharing and come right back on. So, that was a long one. All right, share again and screen 2. All right, Chandan, you want to tell me if you can see Tracker?
Yes, Robert, I can see Tracker.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. All right, so this is Tracker. This is our tracing platform that we have at Merkle Science. It's an excellent tool. It's very clean. It's accurate. The data behind it is enormous. I don't even know how many data points, but I'm going to say it's probably in the billions. But it's huge. We cover 23 different chains, bridges as well, all that kind of stuff. So what I did here is I built this graph out this morning real quick to make sure that it's all working, of course. It's probably a good thing to do, right? And what we have here in the middle is we have this reported scam address, and we can see that the funds here went over here to a global exchange, and we can see the amount here, 17.38. And what we're looking at is working out the funding mechanism. The funding mechanism on the top side of this path came from Kraken. So the victim apparently held an account at Kraken. Kraken sent them funds. I would say that this address here, this 7 Charlie address, is most likely the victim's wallet, and then the victim sent funds to this address here. This ends in EPL. Now, this one down here is a little more different in the sense that you see the value here, 56.95 Bitcoin. Remember I talked about the ATM receipt? This is what I meant. You look at the value of BTC, and if I select it over here, you can see it's in dollars. And it's not always the same. The BTC will be the same because that's blockchain information. This dollar value, when you hit a convert on a tool like ours, we're taking like the average cost of Bitcoin that day, and we're averaging it out, and we're giving you the equivalent value in dollars. And sometimes our exchange rate is not the same as someone else's exchange rate. There's some differences in there in the averages. So these values would be different, plus minus the fees too, right? So you're minusing the fees, but that's a lot of Bitcoin, 6.4, almost 6.5 million in that case. But that's not what the victim lost. The victim's transfer is here in this one, this CJR, and look at the value difference. It's 0.17 Bitcoin, 56.8 went in, and 17 came out. So how do we account for this, right? So we need to look at the transactions, and you need to understand UTXO. The blockchain is a UTXO blockchain, which is Bitcoin. You need to understand what that means. I can't give you that class right now because it's just too long. But we do have a really good blog that just came out that I wrote a couple days ago. It's on our blog site. It is titled UTXO transactions. read it, understand it, because UTXO is different than Ethereum. Okay, Bitcoin is UTXO, Ethereum is account based. They are different, and tracing them is different. And what this means is, in a transaction in Ethereum, you have one Ethereum address paying another or interacting with the contract. It's ETH to ETH or ETH to contract. Okay, and it could be the token too, represented, but the blockchain's ETH. UTXO means that you can have several different people being paid out. Now in this graph, what I'm showing you, I don't have these extra addresses as outputs over here. I only have the one, which is this one here. But over here, you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There could be a lot. There's 7 total outputs on this side. So there's seven different payees in this one transaction that paid this address. And you need to understand how to trace that. So you're going to have to account if your report saying that 56.8 bitcoins came into or was sent in a transaction, then people are going to want to know, well, what happened to the other, in this case 56.63 no 65 75 bitcoins. Where did they go? So you're going to have to account for these other UTXOs on the output side of this transaction. So start understanding what UTXO means and how it works. Now, in this case, this is the victim's wallet, so I only selected that one, and then I can see the value that was sent to the scam address again. And then notice that from there, we went to a global exchange, but also we have this, it's 0.1738, that funds just went directly to the exchange, but we also have another input here of 0.0085. Well, where did it go? It went up here to this address up here. And these are all things that you have to start taking into account when you're moving transaction forward and back on the blockchain, so you can understand. And now you can also take that, put that in your mind, and think to yourself, if I was doing that by hand, how difficult might that be? But we can do it here in seconds. So I'll tell you what, that is my spiel for the day. If you have questions over the tracing and stuff, throw them up there real quick. I'll try to answer a couple, and then we'll go over to AJ. Now, this is just Bitcoin. Ethereum is a different animal because of the contracts and the swaps and the bridges, which can make things very difficult. And this is a real simple trace right here. There's really not much to this. This is pretty easy. But keep that in mind. We do show you all the information for exchanges and stuff here. We allow you to export everything, so it's really easy. Leaving the exchange, you can share graphing for us. You can share the graphs. You can build cases. It's a full feature blockchain analytics tool that you're looking at here. This is, like I said, this camera here is pretty easy work. But keep that in mind. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the webinar. I'm going to stop sharing. If you have questions, throw them in the questions box, and we'll try to get those real quick, and then we'll move on to AJ. All right, questions here. Herman, I've actually been following a group like this. They first started on WhatsApp, but I see they are now on Telegram. I'm a police officer, financial crypto investigator with the in the BVI. Hey, Herman, nice to meet you. But I encountered them when I was in Trinidad. I tried to raise a group, serving them patterns, but no one was listening to me. Yep. Herman, I feel the pain. I have that happen to me all the time. It's better now than it used to be. I remember back in 2015 or 16, somewhere in there, time flies. I was actually at the State Department with the guy from FinCEN, and we were discussing illicit pathways with a bunch of members of FIUs around the world. And literally, we got laughed out of the room when we said, keep an eye on crypto. It's going to be a big thing. It's funding terrorism. It's funding a lot of this activity, and they basically threw us out. So, they just laugh and moved on. And now here we are almost 10 years later. And guess what? There you go. Herman is saying, I'm still trying to find a medium through which I can help in the fight against these scammers. They work in groups. Yes, they do. They actually do. Okay, Alexandra, what do you think about the recent lawsuit of Athena Bitcoin about consumer protection? I know we had a case really just not too long ago about a sheriff's department that sued, that seized an ATM, And then this came out shortly after that. I think this, if we're talking about the same ruling, where the ATM has a vendor customer relationship built there, and that's basically what it is. They perform the service for the customer, and they can't seize the ATM or something like that. If that's not what you're talking about, please shoot me another email and kind of explain that, what you're talking about, and then we'll go forward. Let's see. Is this session recorded? Yes, it is. And then one says, while I can see the 0.1738 Bitcoin to OKX, the other transfer is being 0.0. So that's just because I knew that was going to come up. That's because the amount, the transfer is 0.0085, and on the other side, we only built out that transaction to 0.0 BTC, so it won't show unless we add the extra places after the decimal there. So, but it's in there, yeah. That it doesn't mean nothing was sent. It just means you'll have to click the transaction line to get the actual value because it's very small. And the amount was in that one transfer is 0.00003,051. So very small. So somewhere in there, the rest of those funds went somewhere, and they're probably setting in that address as a balance. And I'll check that for you real quick. Yeah, the balance is 0.00845. So if you add them together, you'll get the difference. Let's see, it says, I want to know if there's a demo version of Tracker available. There certainly is. You can contact us after the webinar and we can take care of you. Let's see, Ryan. Hey, Robert, I'm just starting out crypto investigations. Does your company provide training from the ground up? Yes, we do. In fact, I'm about to go give training next week to Virginia, to a group of police officers. So, if you want training, send me an email, and then we can get you guys set up. I can come right to your department and we can do it over a couple of days. Why not show the output transaction from the wallet that received? We can show the whole thing, Ralph. It's just that right now I didn't want to go through all the minor steps and take too much time. So yeah, we can definitely do that. Got a lot of questions here. I got about 3 more minutes before I have to swap over to AJ. So how do we see cross-chain transactions on a public ledger? Say it's going from BTC to ETH. Well, that's where the bridge comes in. So if you're going to transfer BTC to ETH, you need some kind of protocol in the middle. And basically think of it this way. If I walk into the bank and I have US dollars and I'm like, I need some or euros. What happens is the bank is the protocol. The bank is the bridge. I'll hand them dollars. They'll put it in the cash till. They'll reach over into another one where they have the euros at, and they'll take out the equivalent amount and hand it to me. So that's called liquidity and the bridge at the same time. So liquidity, the bridge, liquidity, right? So on each side of that. And that's how that works. And they're all done, these particular ones on the blockchain are decentralized, which means they run by contracts. And that's how it works. You have to hit one of these protocols to make it happen. So let's see. What immediate steps should a victim take once they realize they've been scammed? Stop sending money. No more. Break off contact. You're not getting your money back. All right. You're not going to somehow convince this person that's scamming you, that's probably getting beat daily for not getting more money from you, to refund your money. Not going to happen. Okay. So you have to break that contact. Just break it clean. Stop. Because the longer you negotiate with them, the more they set those hooks and try to get you to send them more money in the belief that you might recover your money. It's never going to happen. You're just wasting money throwing it away. Anything in New Jersey coming up? Ryan, get a hold of me. Like I said, I'll come wherever you are. We'll do 3 or 4 days training. I'll come to you. You just fill the room up and give me a venue. I'll come to you and we'll do this for several days and take you from 0 to 60. Is there any chance of OKX detecting this instance? Now look, OKX is a great exchange. They have a really robust compliance department, but things do slip through. So yes, they do really good work over there, and depending how their system has worked, if the address is already flagged as a scam, they'll know right away. Here's the deal: crypto is instant, and you can generate an address in a fraction of a second, and then send money to it, and then create another one and send funds to it, and then create another one. So 4 hops down the line, then you send it to exchange. The exchange has no history on that address. It's just a transaction coming in. So it is really a lot like Russian roulette sometimes, unless the exchange is doing, multi-taint hopping. We call that poisoning, multi-taint down the line, and it has to be instantaneous. You can still work in these transactions into exchanges. Now we're getting better all the time, and so are the exchanges. But it is what it is. We have to do the best we can, and things get through. Um, Herman, same thing for you. What's the process for accessing training? Send a request. Send it to me. My email is robert.whitaker@merklescience.com. Chandon, can you share that in the chat, my email? And that's all of the questions I'm going to take this time right here. I have a bunch of them. I'd love to answer them all. So please shoot me questions in the email. I'm happy to answer them. I'm happy to come to you and provide training as well. So, and we can do this whole thing up right. But for now, I have to turn it over to AJ. I don't have to. I'm going to. I like AJ. He's a good guy. But I'm going to turn it over to AJ, and I'm going to let him talk about some incredible stuff they did over. Now, once you get done with this part, like you've gone through the whole investigation and you've identified the targets for processes, you need to talk to AJ. So there you are, sir. Have it.
My God, Robert, you are an insane wealth of knowledge on this. Like, I learned so much listening to you, so that was pretty cool. I am going to, I'm not getting my options here to share my screen, guys. Something changed.
Bottom row somewhere, little green button that says share. I don't know,
Yeah,
Sean.
it's just coming up and it's not hold on, let me get out of this.
Could be a hidden window too behind another window.
Oh boy, now it's saying because I didn't have Zoom. I might not be able to do this. This is really weird.
You want to send it to me, and I'll put it over here on mine and tap over for you.
Let's see. No, it's not letting me.
Tell you what, why don't you deal with that for a second, and I'll take some more questions. How's that?
Sure.
All right, let's see. So we'll continue for a few minutes and let AJ figure out the issue over there. So, Luis from Brazil. I'm a private investigator. Been monitoring the pig slaughtering. Yeah, we'll call it pig butchering. It's close though, Lewis, close. And human trafficking since April 2024. In your opinion, what is the biggest challenge in combating this type of crime? Are the centralized exchanges and decentralized exchanges contributing, or are they reluctant because transactions are extensive and involve funds from multiple victims? Wow, that's a multi-pronged question, Lewis. I'll tell you, the biggest challenge is that we're talking about organized crime in different jurisdictions around the world, mostly centered in Asia, and the problem is getting those countries to really assist us. Now, if you do, there's a report out about scam compounds in Myanmar, Cambodia, and Thailand. If you read that, or if you get a chance to read that, do that, and then think about it. Those countries could probably do a lot to shut down this in a day if they wanted to, just by going and rooting those compounds out. I'm not going to advocate violence, but get everyone out of them and just bulldoze them to the ground. They're serving no purpose. So that is the issue there. Latimer, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Amy, recovery scam next. Not sure what that means, but oh yeah, I think I get it now, Amy. So I think what Amy's talking about here is recovery scams. So it is a strange thing, and they're related, or at least I'm pretty sure they're related. Someone gets scammed for a lot of money. Next thing you know, they're out looking on the internet how to recover their crypto, and lo and behold, the company shows up and says, "We can help you get your crypto back. Just pay us $10,000 or a percentage of what we recover, and we'll get your crypto back. And then they do something like, oh, we found your money and we can get it all back, but it's $500,000, so you need to pay us 50 grand up front. And some people are getting desperate because they lost a lot of money. They send them 50 grand and they're gone. They just lost 50 grand. Whew, gone. So, recovery scams are out there and there's a lot of them, and they're really just victimizing the victims again. If someone loses money in a crypto scam, how do police or investigators trace the transaction on a blockchain? Irshad, I went over it in the tracker there, and that's how it's done. And we can see that now, AJ, if you're wondering. Yeah, so you're gonna have to use a visual graphing tool like ours to get that done. Happy to give you a demo. Happy to show you how to use it. Happy to get you in there and get you what's going on. Okay, I'm gonna switch over to AJ now. I think he's ready to go.
Thanks, guys. Technology, gotta love it. Okay, so first of all, thank you, Robert. That was amazing. I learned so much listening to you, and I definitely I would love to do that 3-4 day training you're talking about, because I feel like I said earlier, just a wealth of knowledge. So super impressive. I always like to start these presentations with a quick story. So what are we, 2025? So probably 6 years ago, I was still in law enforcement, and I was assigned to a special team, and all I did day in and day out was write legal process to try to get data from companies to support my investigations. And I don't know about you guys, but for me, that was the most annoying, frustrating, broken part of my investigation, was figuring out how to get data from these companies and dealing with these companies. It was an absolute nightmare for the most part for me. Fast forward a couple of years, and I got to see Kodex, and I was blown away. I basically begged the CEO for a job as soon as I met him. Thank God he took a chance on me, and I'm really excited to be here, obviously. But then the other thing I thought of was, I wish this was around when I was writing legal process, because it makes your life so much easier. And the best thing about Kodex is that it is completely free for law enforcement. We don't charge law enforcement for submitting subpoenas or receiving their data back from our customers. I'm going to talk a lot about our founder and our CEO, but essentially this is a company that was built by law enforcement to help law enforcement. So we're in your corner. We want to help you guys out as much as we can. So just like Robert said to you guys, use him as a resource. Please use me as a resource as well. I don't want anybody to feel the way that I used to feel when I was trying to navigate this, really complicated mess of different methods of submissions for these companies. So we'll get going. So a little bit about me. So like I said, I'm former law enforcement, and maybe this was probably 2020 now. I got a call from my old partner, and he said, I just got this, I just came out of this job interview, and all these guys asked me about was subpoenas and production orders and this, that, and the other. And I don't know anything about that stuff. I gave this guy your number. He may or may not call you. And at the time I was like, I love my job. I'm already counting the days so I can retire and then, get that double dip job that everybody seems to get after law enforcement. I was really excited about that. But I took the call anyways. It ended up being with TikTok. And I had never heard of TikTok. I had never written to get data from TikTok or anything like that. But at the time, my oldest daughter was 15. And I asked her, I said, what is this TikTok thing? And she lost her mind. She was like, oh my God, if these guys offer you a job, you have to take it. It's going to be the biggest thing ever and blah, blah, blah. So like every good parent does, I did exactly what my 15-year-old daughter told me to do. I quit my job. I walked away from a career that I loved, a team that I loved working with, and I took a chance on this tiny little company called TikTok, which obviously now has become this insane behemoth. And so TikTok was a lot of fun. I got to do a lot of great work over there, a lot of focus on child safety, which is a passion of mine. It was excellent. Okay, quick Codex history lesson. So like I said, our founder, Matt Donahue, he's ex-FBI, and it was his childhood dream to become an FBI agent. And then one day, Matt was working this criminal file, and his supervisor hands him this subpoena and says, this has got to go to this, telecom company, and they only accept subpoenas via fax. And this is like 6 years ago. So Matt's like, there's no way these guys are intaking subpoenas with fax. Like, that's insane. Like, he thought that this supervisor was actually rookie hazing him because he had just joined this guy's team. But lo and behold, that was the actual way that this company received communications from law enforcement. So if you ever meet Matt and you hear this story, he'll tell you that's the moment that Kodex was born. Within 8 months, Matt quit his job at the FBI to start Kodex. Everybody told him he was nuts. Career suicide, you're going to be selling insurance in 3 months. No disrespect to any insurance salesmen that are out there. But Matt heard it all from everybody about how stupid he was. Now we have 7,500 FBI agents using our portal every month. And later this month, Matt is flying out to DC to meet directly with Kash Patel and his senior leadership team. So I think it's safe to say that Matt got the last laugh on whether it was a good idea to leave the Bureau. So I'm sure some of you guys are wondering, what is Kodex? So Kodex is a law enforcement portal. If you've ever submitted a subpoena or a production order or data request to Facebook or Google, you would have had to use their law enforcement portal. But the key difference between those portals and the Kodex portal is that Kodex is a community portal, meaning that you can submit to hundreds of the world's biggest companies all on our portal. So you don't need to keep track of like who needs a fax, who do I got to send this subpoena to via email or whatever. We make it super easy for you, and we're really trying to streamline this entire process from start to finish. So just so everybody's familiar, this is the Facebook portal. I use this one all the time. I thought it worked really well. I didn't always love the data that Facebook sent back to me, but that's a whole other story in itself. The Google portal, same idea. I thought it worked really well, very intuitive, easy to use, and they were actually pretty quick in my experience. Now, the TikTok portal was another story. I think my last 6 months at TikTok, I was basically customer service for angry cops that wanted to yell at me about how bad our portal was working. I've heard they fixed it, which is excellent. I'm really happy to hear that. But again, what's the key thing with all these portals? It's one company that you can submit to in each one. So you're still managing all these different intake methods. Like, it's a nightmare. Now, contrast these with Kodex. So when you log into Kodex, you're going to see all the different companies that you can submit to on our portal. And for the vast majority of these companies, Kodex is the only way that you can communicate with them. You can't email a subpoena to Discord or Coinbase anymore. Like, you have to go through the Kodex portal. They will not let law enforcement send them anything in any other ways. Now, some of our customers still have their old methods up while they're getting comfortable with Kodex, and that's totally fine. But eventually, they all deprecate their old methods and they move exclusively to a single intake method, which is Kodex. Makes it much easier for them and much easier for you. Registering for the portal is, again, it's free. It's super easy, but the thing I'm going to warn you about is that we do a deep dive every single time somebody tries to access our portal. So there's a couple things I want to make sure you guys know about to try to help your registration be successful the first time. Number one, do not register using a Gmail, a Hotmail, any of your personal email addresses. Only use your government issued agency email address. I kid you not, I got a call a few months ago from this cop who said, you guys rejected my registration and I don't know what's going on. And I said, okay, well, send me the email that you used and I'll check what happened with the team. He sends me this email and it's magicmike420@hotmail.com. So obviously, we're not going to let Magic Mike into the portal to submit data requests to our customers because it's law enforcement only. And then, the second thing about that is our entire team is laughing at Magic Mike behind his back. So please don't be that person. Only use your agency email address. It's very important. Number two, equally as important, do not use a VPN when you are trying to access the Kodex portal. If you use a VPN, we are going to assume that you are a criminal hacker who is trying to access our portal to impersonate law enforcement and submit fraudulent data requests to our customers. This is a huge issue that you might not know about, but we're going to talk about it a little bit later on as we continue in this training. In this section, I'm going to take you guys through some of our partners, the ones that you can submit to directly on the portal. So in terms of telecom, we just added AT&T, obviously a massive company that we're thrilled to have joining the portal. And they joined Cox, Twilio, and Vodafone in terms of telecom partners. Crypto this is probably where we get the lion's share of our requests coming through the portal. I think we have 4 out of the world's top 5 exchanges now using us as the only way to submit data requests to them. So some of the big ones here would be, Coinbase, Bitfinex, obviously these massive exchanges that get a lot of legal requests coming through our portal. Fintech and banking, this is an area that we haven't focused on much, but we're really going to try to expand going forward. We're actually looking for some early adopters in traditional finance. So if you're connected with any of the banks and you'd like to talk to us about joining the portal, please reach out to us. We'll definitely work with you on budget and all that stuff. Social media, dating, and gaming. We're probably going to need a second slide on this one pretty soon. We pretty much have every single dating app using us. The ones that do not use us are probably the super weird ones that we do not want to be associated with anyways. Just kidding. We'll probably take them on the portal no matter what. But some of the big ones on this screen would be Discord. They get a lot of requests through Kodex. Roblox as well. LinkedIn. There's a lot of fraud out there where people are impersonating people on LinkedIn. And we just added OnlyFans as of, I want to say, last week. So very excited to have them joining the portal as well. Technology industry, another big one that we've just added is Airbnb. This is as of about 6 weeks ago. Super excited to have them going. Yahoo is another big one that we added recently. OpenAI is a fun one. Who knew that criminals were going to start using ChatGPT to create criminal scams, but they are. And so if you ever have an investigation that touches ChatGPT, you've got to have a Codex account. You've got to submit to ChatGPT through the Codex portal. Now, when you do get access, you're going to see that some of the tiles on our portal have logos and some of them don't. So what's the distinction there? The distinction is that the companies that have logos, those are our actual customers. Those are the ones you could submit your subpoenas, your preservations, your questions, whatever you want through the portal. Now, the ones that don't have their logo, even though they're not a customer of ours, we still want to arm law enforcement with as much information as possible. So you don't have to go hunting through like terms and services on, say T-Mobile's website to figure out how to submit to them. You could just click on the T-Mobile tile in the Codex portal, and you're going to see this is how they intake subpoenas. This is the data that they want from you. This is the data they can send back to you. And these are the rules they're asking you to follow. Whatever we can find out about their process, we're going to add it in. And again, we want to make it really easy for law enforcement to submit successful data requests the first time. When you are ready to submit to a company, you're going to click on their tile, and that's going to take you to their company profile page. So I love highlighting Roblox because I think Roblox does a great job of proactively providing a lot of information to law enforcement up front. And this is something that really threw me for a loop because I remember when I was in law enforcement, I would have certain companies that were really easy to deal with and certain ones that were not easy to deal with. And for me, I used to just think that some companies hated the police. They didn't want to cooperate with me. They were going to give me a hard time no matter what. What I'm realizing now that I'm on this side of it is that these companies don't hate the police. They want to cooperate as much as you want them to cooperate. But the teams that handle subpoenas at these companies, they're the most under-resourced, undervalued, understaffed teams at these companies. So the biggest thing that they want is they want you guys to get it right. Because they have mountains of these subpoenas to try to get through, and they're very understaffed. So they're giving you a ton of information. And if you follow what they're asking you to do, you're going to get your data back the first time that you ask for it. So on the profile page, first is just a blurb about the company. This is who they are. This is what they do, the services that they provide. Next, this is a guide on how to understand all the different pieces of data that they're going to provide to you during an investigation. Next, they have their legal entity name and address. Make sure you copy and paste this directly from Codex, because I think we all know if you get one digit wrong in that zip code, the company's going to turn around and say, that's not us anymore, and we don't have to cooperate with you. So make sure you are very particular and you're getting this right. It's really important. Next, they have a link to their law enforcement guidelines. And here they have just 5 bullets, basically like, if you give us this, you're going to be successful. So follow what they're asking you to do, and you're going to have a successful application for data. Next, they have information on how to submit an emergency or an exigent request. And then in that top right corner, you're going to see that Get Started button. And almost all of our customers have these 3 options showing. And I just want to draw your attention to the Quick Questions button. So back when I was writing a lot of legal process, I used to have a wonderful contact at American Express. She was amazing. I could write her an email and I could say, I just got assigned this file. It's 8 months old. Is this account still there? If I write to it, can you guys get me information on it? Or I would say, this is all I have. Can you, what would you recommend I write to? Whatever the question would be. And she would always write me back, and she would always have great information for me. And then one day I sent her an email, and the email bounced back and it said address not found. So I lost my really good Amex contact, which sucks. But now with Codex, you don't have to worry about that anymore. So you can just log into Codex and send a company a question, and they will get back to you. I love this because now you don't have to worry anymore. If your good person leaves that company, you're always going to still be able to reach somebody, which again is awesome. Now, I also want to show you guys the Coinbase page, and not to undercut Robert's offer for training, but the reason I'm showing you guys the Coinbase page is because they actually have an entire tab, and a lot of our companies do this as well, where they'll teach you a little bit about, the super high level basics, not like what Robert can teach you. This is just a quick video. If you're new to crypto investigations, here's just like the ABCs that, you can start to familiarize yourself with. So Coinbase does a really good job of providing law enforcement with a lot of free training. But definitely take Robert up on his offer because he's just an incredible expert. Okay, so now we're going to start building a subpoena out. So when you do want to start drafting your submission into Codex, this is what the request details screen is going to look like. And so for this particular company, we're just going to use a dummy telecom company. And each one of these fields that you're going to have to fill out on this page, these are all customized based on the company you're submitting to. So first off, the company wants to know, what is your target information? What do you want us to look for in our system in terms of user data? So for a telecom, you might see these options in the dropdown: address, email address, phone number. For a crypto company, it's going to be totally different. For a dating app, it's going to be different. Social media, different. You get it. The next thing they're going to ask you for, the company wants to know, what's your agency case number? And this is really important for something I'm going to show you in a couple slides. And then they want to know, what are you investigating? And this is because in addition to handling legal process requests, we also build out transparency reporting for a lot of our customers. So these customers, they actually treat law enforcement requests as actionable intelligence. So they might not know that they have a child exploitation problem on their platform. So requests from law enforcement might be the first time they learn about it. So this is a mandatory field. You have to fill this out. They want to know what you're investigating as it relates to their platform. The next field is what type of legal process are you going to be submitting to us? Pretty self-explanatory. And then the data requested at the bottom. This is just a simple checkbox. This is what the company has available to you based on the legal process that you're submitting. And you would just click in the drop down. This is what I'm looking for to help my investigation out. The next screen is going to be, do you have an NDO? Please fill out any relevant details that you have, regarding dates and times for your NDO. Very straightforward. The next screen is just a free text box. This is where you can let the company know, hey, this is the nature of the crime I'm investigating, or this is on the front page of the newspaper. Can you please prioritize? Whatever you want the company to know about your file, you can just let them know about it right here. The next screen is the attachment screen. This is where you're going to attach your actual subpoena or production order or court order, whatever you're submitting. It's also where if you're investigating a massive crypto fraud and you have 2,500 wallet addresses, this is where you can upload, an Excel chart or something like that. Or if you have screenshots related to your investigation, this is where you can upload all of these files. The next page is just a summary page. If you're happy with how this looks, You're just going to click submit, and it's that easy to submit your subpoena through the Codex portal. You're going to get a ticket number. So here we have AJ Telco 11, and this ticket number is going to allow you to basically track the life cycle of the submission from start to finish. And this is something I also love, because I remember, some of these companies, you would have to send a fax or registered mail or whatever, and it's just gone into the ether. You have no idea if this company has received it, if they're working on it. You just kind of sit in this, dark room and you wait, and hopefully the company sends you something. But you never really know. So now we've changed all that. You can just log in and check the status whenever you want. Pretty cool. Okay, so now we log back into our home screen. We see there's that AJ Telco 11 ticket at the very bottom. And you're just going to click that ticket number, and that's going to take you to your timeline view. And this is your entire history of the submission from start to finish. So the first thing is, you can see these green and white boxes. These are all the messages that have gone between yourselves and the company that you're submitting to. We make it super easy so you can always, see all the communications between yourselves and the company. And then in the bottom right corner, there's that view document screen. This is where you can check out anything that the company has sent back to you. Now, I know you guys are novice crypto investigators, so you might not know the name Alona Katz, but Alona is kind of a legend in the crypto game. She's a DA in the New York City area, and her team from the Brooklyn DA's office, they submit more crypto requests, I believe, than any other team in the United States. And so I was at this conference last year, and you're going to hear me say the same thing at the end of this presentation. Basically, if you have a good idea on how we can make this portal better for you guys, let us know. Like, we really want that really great feedback from you guys. And we're such a small company that we can actually still make really good changes really quickly. So Alona came to me and she said, it sucks that I can't print the messages between myself and the company. I have to do this weird, print screen option, and it looks like crap. And why can't I print to a PDF? And I said, that's a really good point. And while I was standing there, I texted one of our engineers and I said, hey, can we add this print to PDF button functionality to the timeline screen? And he wrote me back in 1 second. He said, yeah, I should have that ready for tomorrow. And so without further ado, this is now the Alona Katz button on Codex. It was her idea, so I love to give her a shout out. And if you're on this call right now and you have a great idea, maybe you could get a button named after you as well on the Codex portal. We love this. Okay, on the far right hand of the side of the screen, you're going to see 3 different tabs. You're going to see requests, documents, and agents. The request tab is basically all the key dates related to your initial request on this file. The documents tab, this is where you can review any documents sent to you from the company and then by you to the company. You can check them out, right here on that tab. And then this is the agent tab. And so we're going to be rolling out a pretty cool feature before the end of the year where as an investigator, you're going to be able to tag in your partner, your supervisor. If you're going on vacation, if you're going on maternity leave, you can basically add agents to your ticket so that they can also access these tickets. This is going to be really helpful because, we get calls all the time. I'm retiring, transfer all my tickets to this person, or I'm going on mat leave for 6 months, send all my tickets to this person, whatever. Now you're going to be able to do that all yourself. We're super excited about this. Okay, a couple slides ago, I told you guys, always use your agency case number. And this is the reason why. So this is my actual whiteboard that I had hanging in my cubicle. And this is one of the smaller cases that I worked right before I left law enforcement. But believe it or not, this is how I tracked all the different companies that I was submitting legal process to. It's not a great way to run your investigation, obviously. Of course, law enforcement's full of pranksters, so I'd have guys come in and change stuff all the time. Now, the one cool thing about this was every time my boss walked by my desk and he saw this whiteboard, he just blown away. AJ, you're killing it, man. You're so busy. You're doing great work. And I'd say, yes, sir. Yes, I am. But contrast that to the Codex case view feature. If you use the same case number for your submissions under your file, you're going to be able to see a bird's eye view of all of those different tickets in one place. this is awesome for just, checking where you're at from, again, like a global view. You can send follow-ups if you need to and all that fun stuff, but way better than using your whiteboard. Okay, I want to switch gears a bit. I want to talk to you guys about this situation that just happened in Brazil a couple months ago. So if you know anything about Brazilian law enforcement, you'll know that it can sometimes be very difficult for Brazilian law enforcement to get data from companies. And this is due to a lot of reasons. One of them being, Brazilian law enforcement do not have, some of them do not have great data security practices in place for their law enforcement email accounts. They're getting hacked all the time. It's a big issue. So companies are very hesitant to cooperate with Brazilian law enforcement because they're not sure that they're actually speaking with legitimate Brazilian law enforcement. So what Kodex did is we actually hired somebody who is active Brazilian law enforcement. Obviously, they've since left. And we have a man on the ground in Brazil now to work with Brazilian law enforcement and work with our customers to really make it easier for our customers to cooperate with Brazilian law enforcement. So our new guy in Brazil, Marcos, who's amazing, he got a call from one of his old colleagues in law enforcement saying, we have this tip that, this Lady Gaga concert, this free concert where she's going to have 2 million people in Rio, there's going to be a series of bombings that happen at this concert. But we can't get data from Discord. Now, Discord's one of our customers. So Marcos was able to work with Discord, work with Brazilian law enforcement, and we were able to get law enforcement access to this Discord data in a really fast period of time. And Brazilian law enforcement was able, the day of the concert, to go out and run a bunch of targeted raids. I think they arrested 16 people and they seized a whole bunch of bombs. And if you guys know that this is pretty rare to get. We got the head of the Brazilian cybercrime team for their federal police basically go to the media and say, if Codex does not exist, those bombs go off and a lot of people die at this concert. So we're super proud of this. We're trying to change the world, and so situations like this are pretty cool to get feedback on. And so obviously we love talking about it. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about our threat intel team now, and just to educate you all on what we're seeing on the dark web and how to protect yourselves from this thing that we call law enforcement email compromise. I had never heard of law enforcement email compromise, not while I was in law enforcement or even when I was at TikTok. But basically, if you know how to do it, you could log into the dark web right now and you can purchase access to a law enforcement email account. Once you have access to that email account, you can then submit fake emergency requests, fake subpoenas, fake legal process to any number of the world's largest companies. This is the new way that scammers are stealing data from companies. Once they have access to your, data on Facebook, maybe that's the key they need to get into your Coinbase account or to get into your mobile banking or something like that. So this is a huge issue, and this is a major focus of ours. So you can see on the screen, we're actually up over 97,000 registered investigators on our portal as of this morning. Every single time somebody tries to register for the portal or access the portal, we have a team that is doing a deep dive on dozens of different data points to make sure that this person is who they say they are. This is why our customers trust us to manage this process for them. So I do have some of these examples of what we see on the dark web every single day. So this is from a forum called Breach Forums on the dark web. This is a really popular one where people sell things like this. So you have this poster selling Royal Thai police accounts. He's got 16 of them. They're available for $75 each. So for $75, you can impersonate Royal Thai police and then submit whatever you want to whatever company you want. Pretty scary. And it's not just limited to overseas agencies. We find them in the US every single day. Here's one we found last year. This is a guy selling a working FBI.gov email account. So imagine you're a company and you get an email from somebody with an FBI.gov email account. Never in a million years are you going to assume that this is a hacker in his mother's basement using this email account to steal data. But that's what we're finding. Now, this is another thing that we find all the time as well. We get these log leaks where these hackers are hacking law enforcement agencies in their email databases, and then they're just publicly posting email addresses and passwords. This happened to my friends, the Canadian Federal Police. They had 6,000 of their members exposed in this log leak. So a couple lessons here. Number one, whatever password you use for your work account, do not use the same password for your personal stuff because police officers are targets for these hackers. They are actively trying to hack you guys, so you have to protect yourselves. The second thing about this, don't have an embarrassing password, because if it ever leaks online, you know that that's not going anywhere. And like, I see some, really weird ones, peace and love, like, that's going to be that's going to follow that girl for the rest of her career in law enforcement for sure. So make sure you have no embarrassing passwords out there in case they leak. Now, this is another wrinkle that we're seeing recently. These guys are kind of changing up their tactics a bit. I think they're realizing that they can make more money without selling access to the email account. They can make more money just keeping the access to the email that they've hacked to themselves, and then they just run the search for customers. So this is what they're doing now. So if you want to get data from Facebook, you want to get your neighbor's Facebook data, you can pay this guy $200, and he's going to submit probably a fake emergency request using a hacked email account, and then get whatever customer data you want to get from Facebook, and then just hand it over. So this is what they're doing now. Instead of selling access to the email account, some of them are now choosing to do this. This is pretty terrifying, obviously, because I don't know about you guys, I have accounts with a lot of these services. So to know that your data is really insecure is very concerning. This is one that we just found recently. This is a guy selling emergency data requests. So Meta, Snapchat, Telegram, Spotify. You can basically give this guy a couple bucks and he'll get whatever data you want from any of those companies. And it's not just social media platforms. Like here we have a guy that's selling access to the law enforcement section of Carfax. So he's obviously hacked a law enforcement email account, and for $175, you can run a VIN number through Carfax and get whatever information you want related to that vehicle. So this is really scary for stalkers and things like that, obviously. This is a fun one that we saw on breach forums recently. This is a guy saying, I can subpoena all the social medias, Instagram, Facebook, whoever doesn't use Kodex. We love this. We see this all the time. There is a massive bounty for the first hacker who finds a way to hack Kodex. We know that our actual executives are being targeted by these guys. We found a dark web thread where somebody posted a photo of one of our senior leadership team members' parents' house on the dark web and said, I know this is a Kodex related house. So these guys are out to, they're out to get data from people, and we're the shield that's standing in the way. And so now we've become a target as well. Now, I'm sure some of you guys are wondering, like, is there a real world harm to these law enforcement email compromises? And there definitely is. So this is a really scary story that happened in 2023. So the story goes is that a young girl went on a date with a guy, and she rightfully so was very creeped out by him. She ghosted him, didn't want to have anything to do with him, blocked his number, all that stuff. But this guy had her phone number. So he goes to Verizon impersonating law enforcement and says, I need information on this phone number. And Verizon gave him the data. So a couple months later, this guy, she's getting ready to go to bed. She sees somebody lurking outside her house. She calls 911. Police show up. They arrest this guy. And she right away notices him and is like, that's the guy I wanted a date with like 4 months ago. And so he was able to get this data from Verizon. And when they arrested him, they found knives and rope in his backpack. So God knows what he had in store, and thank God that the police were able to get this guy. Now, in case you think I'm just over-exaggerating here, this is something that the FBI released last fall. It's basically a notification that went out to all companies in the United States saying, if you are communicating with law enforcement over email, you better make sure that the person on the other end is actually law enforcement, because we are seeing examples on the dark web every single day of hacked law enforcement email credentials available for sale. Now, a really cool thing about Codex is that we don't just hoard this data. Whenever we identify a compromised email domain or a hacked email account, whatever it might be, we actually put it out for free every single month. So I would highly recommend you guys sign up for our threat intelligence newsletter, and please share it with your agency IT teams. We really want to arm people with this information about how bad of an issue this is, and we don't want to see anybody victimized by these guys. So a couple things that you guys can do to protect yourselves: use a password manager. We use 1Password at Codex. It's an extra step, but I find it works really well, and it's nice to have that added layer of protection. Number two, if you're ever in your email and you get an email and it says, "Welcome to the Twitter law enforcement portal," and you're like, "I didn't register for the Twitter law enforcement portal," that's a giant red flag that there's somebody else who has access to your email account. You immediately need to, lock down your account, let your IT team know, because that's a big red flag. Number three, use MFA. Don't use SMS MFA because that's been hacked now too. Use one of these authenticator programs. They're free. They're easy to use. Number four, monitor your deleted items folder. We sometimes have these conversations with these hackers, purporting to be a potential customer, and they'll say to us, when you get your data back from Facebook or whoever you're submitting to, make sure that you delete the email from Facebook from your inbox, and then go into your deleted items and delete it from there too. A lot of times people forget to do that. So it's a really good practice to log into your deleted items folder every couple of weeks, and check to make sure that everything in there is something that you personally deleted. And again, if you see things in there that you don't remember deleting, it could be a red flag that somebody else has access to your email account. Number five, we talked about this because of my poor friends from the Mounties up north. Keep unique passwords. That's the easiest and best way to be as safe and secure as you can. Okay, a couple things before I leave you guys. Please register for your free Codex account as soon as possible. It takes time for us to verify you. So register now, and then that account's going to be sitting there waiting for you when you need it. Number two, this is a huge part of what I do. I just travel around North America. I teach law enforcement how to use the portal, and all the different partners that they can use our portal to submit to. So if you think there's a benefit to me running a training for your agency or for your team or for pretty much anybody, reach out to me, let me know. I would love to do that. I did Northern Alberta RCMP maybe like a month ago. There was 2 people on the call, and then I did one for the FBI, and we had 1,400 agents on the call. Like, I really don't care. I just want to get everybody trained up as soon as possible. Number 3, we don't have to worry about. We didn't talk about it today. Number 4, I'd love to have some American case studies. So if you guys have a good case study for me, reach out. If you think that Codex helped you solve a crime, and you want to tell me about it, I'd love to know about that. That's really important for us to get that feedback, and I'd love to include some more case studies in this presentation. Number 5, our Threat Intel newsletter. Again, it's free. Share it broadly. It's got some great intel in there and the stuff that you definitely want to know about. Number 6, some of our customers have asked us to collect reimbursements on their behalf. I know that can be annoying if you're an investigator. We want to cut the investigator out of that. So if you have a finance person at your agency that is going to be paying these reimbursements, connect me with them directly, and then we can take the investigator out of it. And we don't want you guys to have to deal with that. Okay, so this is all my info. If you scan that QR code, that's going to take you to my digital business card. It's got a link to sign up for the portal. It's got a link to sign up for our Threat Intel newsletter. It's got all my contact info. And like I said at the beginning, please use me as a resource. Just by nature of who we are and what we do, we're really well connected at a lot of different companies. So if you guys need a hand, with a certain company or anything like that, please reach out to me. don't be shy. Like I want to help out. So, please let me know how we can do that. And then, please follow me on LinkedIn. We try to release a lot of, good content on there to keep you up to date on all things Codex. And then, like I said, please reach out to me for training or any other questions or comments you might have about the portal. We would love to hear about that. I think we got a couple minutes left, so if there are any questions. Okay. Herman, I love to hear that. Thank you, sir. I appreciate this feedback. We love hearing that, and this is why we're here. So I'm glad to hear you guys have had a good experience. Alexandra, when you guys have received a subpoena, do you do some sort of investigation or just process the subpoena? So we actually don't see the subpoenas. We cannot see anything that goes between law enforcement and the company. So Codex is completely encrypted, and the only people that can de-encrypt are your intended receiver. So law enforcement submits a subpoena that's going to Coinbase. We cannot see that subpoena. Coinbase is the only entity that can actually open that subpoena and de-encrypt what you've sent through them. So we don't see anything. We're just that secure bridge between law enforcement and industry. Hi, AJ. This is Suvik from Kolkata, India. I'm law enforcement. We are facing several problems with the Codex portal. At present, only Binance is available there. Okay. Reach out to me about all these questions. And this is something, it's just like Brazil. So our threat intel team, they come back pretty much every day with a new Indian email or law enforcement agency that has had their emails compromised. So when we go to our clients and we say, these are the issues that we're seeing in India around data security and data hygiene, it's up to you if you want to allow them access. And most of the time they say, no, like we want to wait till they're completely verified and we can be very confident that they're legitimate. So I feel your pain. I know this is an issue. We're actually trying to hire somebody in India right now, just like we did in Brazil, to address all of these issues because we're having a really hard time verifying law enforcement in India. So please reach out to me, send me a note. Maybe there's a way that we can work together to try to address some of these issues. But this is a great question, and I appreciate it. How do you reach out? So my info is on that screen, my email, my phone number, my LinkedIn. Reach out to me. That's the easiest way to do it. I'm happy to help out in any way that I possibly can. Any other questions?
All right. Well, AJ, that was a spectacular job. I was very interested by some of that stuff you were showing. In fact, if I can get on that mailing list with that intel letter, that'd be awesome.
I got you, buddy. I'll
So
definitely get you at it.
I'll tell you that it's a never-ending cycle. Once you think you plug one illicit scheme, then 10 more come out. There's like whole rooms of people just thinking of ways to do this. So, yeah. So it's a tough one. Anyway, so I think that's it for this one. AJ, thank you very much. I appreciate you coming on and talking about Codex. Codex is a wonderful addition to the world of getting subpoenas done. I remember fighting with companies. It's like, they sent back an email saying, "Oh, we'll do this for you, but it's going to be 75 cents a page, and it's going to cost, it's $2 million because it's a huge account." I'm like, oh my god.
I know. Or you just never hear back from them, and you're
Or
like,
you just never hear back from them, right?
Yeah.
You have to call them and remind them, there is a part with going before a judge here if you want to use that route instead. It's just a pain. But yeah, so thank you very much. We appreciate what Codex is doing, and the work is valuable. That's no doubt about it. So I hope everyone enjoyed this talk. We are right at time now. We appreciate it. Please come back and see us again. There'll be a video of this available in about 24 hours on YouTube. We'll send you a link to your email. What did you register from, just to show you where it's at. And we appreciate you coming on here today. And please come see us at Merkle, come see us at Codex, and have a great day, and we'll meet again. Thank you. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Second one.